For the Press Corps, I'm Jeffrey Jennings with a special post-war 119 panel of Press Corps reporters. Not quite experts, but we'll work our way up to it.
Yes, let's add them.
Okay, so
All right,
you
you're
are
live on the air.
Well,
You're live.
Geoffrey,
You're live.
you just fucked my entire organization.
We were gonna do it one at a time.
Oh, we're gonna do one at a time?
No.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
All right,
okay,
Seaside, put him back in.
Oh, no.
Get him out of
I
here.
will-
Put him back out. Get him out of here.
Okay,
Kick
so
him out,
here,
kick him
people,
out.
you can see.
Kick him out.
Yeah, you can
God
see
damn it.
the
Son of a
very-
bitch.
Yeah.
Are we gonna edit that out of the?
Yeah,
No,
No.
that's staying in. That's
Okay,
staying in.
all right.
Yeah,
Who's
yeah.
first? Who's first?
Please,
Dear
please,
Koala.
everyone.
I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave. Good work.
Okay, so please, thank you. Please mute your microphone. I will add the first guest, which is Bedouth, a colonial player. Welcome, Bedouth. Welcome to the Press Corps. Please introduce yourself.
Okay, so I'm Bedouth. I played Colonial for most of my Foxhole career. I started playing in War 96, have amassed a lot of experience. I've got around 2,000 player hours. And in War 119, I was mostly active on the Eastern Front, acting as a builder. That's mostly who I am.
Okay, thank you very much. And you're not part of any regiment. You're a solo player, I think, right?
Basically, yes. Mostly I just cooperate with the people that fight in the same hexes as I fight in. And of course I don't always fight in the same hexes every war, so I kinda have trouble to stick to one single regiment, and that's why I'm mostly solo.
Okay. Okay, see. Thank you very much. I will now bring up Rec Corps with us. Hello, Corps. Welcome to the Press Corps. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Core. I'm a member of Requiem. The tag is REQ. We are Warden Loyalist and a regimental member of Green Busters Group, a coalition within the Warden faction.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for being here with us.
It's a pleasure.
We'll now bring up Delta American Koala. Hello, Koala. Thank you very much for being with us. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is American Koala. I'm from Delta, and I'm typically a colonial player.
Okay. Great. I will now bring both Avitus and Emotic from 82DK. If my software allows me, thank you. So welcome Avitus and Emotic. Thank you very much for being with us. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Avitus, 82DK. Been playing about 8 years, and I'm one of the leaders of one of 82DK's main infantry sections.
And
sorry, go ahead, Avis.
No, sorry. Please, I was just about to ask you, Emotic, to present yourself.
My name is Emotic, officer of the Scars Infantry Section, along with Avis of the 82nd Dreadcore Siege Regiment.
Okay, great. I will now bring up Shippage from NCR, I think, who is the leader of this regiment. Hello, Shippage.
Hello.
Thank you for being with us. Can you please introduce yourself and your regiment?
Yep. Hello, my name is Shippage. I am the leader and founder of New Colonial Republic, and I am a representative, colonial loyalist, and also a representative of the Sons of the Legion Coalition, also known as Soul.
Okay, great. I will now bring JV Iceman, an officer from the 1st Swedish Imperial Marine Regiment. Hello, JV.
Hello.
Can you please introduce yourself and your regiment quickly?
Yes, my name is JV Iceman Jr. I am a major in the 1C IMR, the 1st Swedish Imperial Marine Regiment.
Okay, I'll bring up Avoc Charge now from WLL. Hello, Avoc. Welcome to the PressCorps.
Hello, I'm Havoc 5 with the WLL, the Winter Legion Logistics, mainly colonial, part of the Seoul Sons of the Legion Coalition, and I am mainly a logistics person.
Okay. And last, I will bring up 11FL Rocky U, which is, I think, the second in command from this regiment. Hello, Rocky. Welcome to the PressCorps. Glad to have you with us. So,
Hello.
Can you present your regiment quickly, please?
Sure. I'm Rocky AU. I'm one of the officers in the 11th Foreign Legion. We're a Warden Loyalist regiment, and we're part of the GLA coalition.
Okay, that's great. So, first of all, I want to apologize for the delay because, as you can see, everything is very well scheduled here in the PressCorps. But the first question I have to ask all of you is, what did you like about the new update? Sorry, was it the tanks, the weapon, the medical changes? And I will first ask Bidoof to answer. So Bidoof, what did you like the most of this update?
So definitely my highlight of the update were the new infantry and tank weapons. Especially the new colonial sniper in particular is really amazing because it basically offers the infantry the ability to damage tanks from safety. So previously, every time you wanted to damage an enemy tank, right, you had to get within its range and the enemy tank could kill you. But with the sniper, you had, what, 60 meters range? So you could sit back, poke the tank, really annoy it, and that's why I think it's the highlight of the update for me.
Oh, okay, interesting. And Rocky, what about you? What's your highlight of the update?
I thought mines were an interesting change. I liked messing around with the new brigand. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I think with the brigand, what was the most interesting thing about the update was the Nemesis. I'm going to ask a shippage. Who here had the chance of playing with the new Nemesis Colonial tank?
I did.
I've used it a bit.
I had a
Okay,
chance.
so
A couple of times as well.
okay, so Shippage and then American, can you share with us your opinion, your feelings of this new tank, because it is peculiar looking.
Yeah, of course. A couple of my troopers like to call it a hot dog because it literally looks like a hot dog, but it's green. Initially, when it was first introduced, there was a lot of mixed feelings from the colonials, especially, it was meant to be off-road, but it really didn't have good off-road capabilities. That changed. But during the war, when the official action was going on, I personally anticipated that it was going to be received negatively by the colonial faction, but it turned out to be not that way. It has very good range. It has very good speed. It's not a tank that you can just throw head on against other tanks. It's more of a flanking tank. If there's another tank that I would like to compare it to, it would be the Outlaw. I would compare the Nemesis to the Outlaw just because of its flanking capabilities. And then the last thing I would add is that its ability to just shoot tremolas from its coaxial little cannon launcher. I think it's a very neat touch because it allows the Nemesis to not only, PvP against tanks, but also eliminate any foes that are hiding in that trench in front of you, right? Just throw a tremola and he's dead. That's all I have to say about the Nemesis, but overall, a very good tank.
Yeah, I would say from a logistics side of it, it's really nice to have a new MPF tank, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of variants they come up with in the future updates for it. like Shippage says, it's really interesting to have that Tremolo launcher on there because you get the 4 shots, and it's really good for taking infantry out of like craters and trenches who might try and hit you with the bone law, especially when you're trying to like push up and use its speed to your advantage. I think it's a really good capability to have in a tank. And then the 68 is just like a nice AT touch.
So if I can sum up what you mean is like it's an interesting, it's a versatile platform to the wardens add or have the outlaw and highwayman and the Bonlow tanks, and you think that the Nemesis is a good answer to that threat, and it is quick, it's good for flanking, and its tremor launcher is also helpful with dealing with close range threats. That I'm correct?
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm going to ask both Emotic and Avitus about what they like most about this update.
Well, I would say the biggest thing that's affected gameplay, especially on the infantry side of things, is the way that grenades and the way that grenades are thrown has been changed. Now, if you kill somebody before they've thrown the grenade, they're going to drop it in the middle of all their own men, that type of thing. The range of bomber stones has been decreased, I think, or it's been at least made closer to the Warden Pineapple. So it's over the course of the entire war, that has had a dramatic effect on infantry gameplay. And I just love the changes to infantry overall, but I would say that is the single biggest change that has truly affected the war. Like I've noticed that the Warden infantry were truly like in a dominant position, pretty much at least on the western flank, the entire war, mostly due to that fact. So yeah.
I will have to agree on that. This mine is more for the infantry's new weight mechanics and the adjacent stamina. That change alone is something that has a very profound effect on the infantry gameplay. It had made a lot of Warden weapon systems a lot more viable now because of the new weight changes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, for example, if you want to take out a bone saw or the Malone Mark II, you're really going to have to, be very mindful on how you're going to use it because the weight's going to make you very slow. Now you can take these weapon systems out or even take more equipment than what you could before, be more versatile because now you're able to maintain a good amount of stamina and still be quick to actually use the weapon systems, which overall, not just for the Warden faction, I believe this mechanic alone has a very positive effect for the entire game for both factions, which is something the community had been asking for many years now.
Okay, sorry, my microphone wasn't working. Okay, interesting. And so I have to ask, I think, who did I miss? JV, I think I missed JV,
Yes.
as well as I think Avok. I think I forgot to ask Avok.
Me as well.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yes. Okay, so JV, then Cord, and Avok. What's your highlight? What you liked most about this update?
I think the 82nd DK hit the nail on the head. I really like the infantry update. I like the vehicles, I like the weapons. I really like the scatter lay. That's highly coveted by both sides. I like the brigand, but I don't like the fact that the outlaw now has to be produced on a pad. That kind of hurts my feelings a little bit. It hurts us a little bit. The brigand is good, but it's not a real replacement. But other than that, though, I'm really enjoying what they've brought. I really like the fact that the Boma Stones have been reduced range and they drop when firing. That's really helped us a lot in the early game. I think this last war shows that.
Okay, so Core, what's your highlight of the war?
For me, it would probably be the Greyhound ATR on the Warden side. Some people hate it, some people really enjoy it, but I got a chance to use it quite a bit since our coalition was producing hundreds of crates of these things, and we had supplied them to most of our front lines. We found it quite enjoyable to use against infantry, not as good as the Statterly against tanks, but we thought it was definitely quite fun to one-tap people, much easier. When before it was only really possible with the captured Volta heavy repeater from the colonial side.
Yes. Either that or the
The
only.
Clancy Raka, yeah. Clancy Raka was our option.
Well, technically, the Hangman,
the Hangman does, yes.
Well, the Hangman, yeah, the Hangman, I think have a 50% chance of downing someone on the first shot, so it's quite powerful. But it's a unusual weapon on the front line. You don't see that being used often.
It is, yes.
Like some people like me who really enjoy.
The Greyhound ATR does not count as a heavy weapon within the game, so you can fire it off of the back of boats, barges, and even basically anything else.
And it uses
and moves
20.
like a rifle.
It uses 20 millimeter?
Yeah, it uses 20 millimeter, has around 20 rounds in the chamber, and is fully automatic, but can be fired semi-automatic in single shot bursts to allow you to preserve a lot of ammunition.
Okay. And Avok, you're the last. What's the thing you really remember about this update?
I really enjoyed the changes to the medical aspect. From the logistics side, having a place where I can shove medical supplies for the medics, and it's not going to just be taken out and lost too many times was a great idea. The different ways of getting shirts back is a huge improvement. We didn't really see too much of the high-end train hospital this time, but a lot of the med tents got thrown up, were used, and I like it because, last night, just before the end, I was in Akrithia, and we put 3 tents up in Patridia, and we filled them all with supplies, with med supplies. So we didn't have to worry about what exactly was in the safe houses and stuff. We knew that the CWSs could be brought to these places, the medics could refill their items from there, and then continue their mission without having to go into a crowded safe house or town hall when it's really getting heavy in battle to try to collect more resources and head back out.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your interesting opinions, and I'd like to ask Warden, and then I'd like to ask Colonial, and then Wardens. How do you think the war went? Like, how to say that? Do you think it was a one-sided fight from start to finish? Do you think it was an equal fight? Or anything else you want to tell about your perception of the now finished War 1119? So the Colonial first, please.
May I start?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so my expectations for the war were really that colonial forces would really shine with the new tools they got, with the Nemesis tank, with the AT sniper. But then as the war went on, I would say it was a pretty equal fight. Wardens had their strength still in the Navy, I would say, especially East, especially West, the island hexes. Colonial had their strength in the mid-hex. It was, like you said earlier in the war review, kind of a repeat of War 117. And then Wardens broke through the East. Colonials lost a lot of morale. And so that was kind of unexpected for me. I was expecting our land forces especially to hold up better with the new tools they got. So that's my opinion on how the war went.
Yeah, I think like Bidoof was saying, it was really interesting to see how the war went very similar to 117. I spent a lot of time in Reaver's Pass and the Fingers, and I feel like, the Wardens trying to take Fort Barley so early on into the war kind of showed that they have an understanding that doing that really puts the Colonials on the back foot. And I think it's like 117, it's like we can get fairly far up in the middle, but we can't get far enough to where we can really finish things. And the wardens just kind of break us down over time.
Okay.
I mean, from my backline perspective, it's a war, and even until last night, still just pulling stuff out of the MPF, cooking things up, getting them in containers, getting ready to go, taking things up. For me, and at least some of our guys in WLL, it's the same thing day after day. And yeah, 117 is a good reflection of what happened, but sometimes it just doesn't work, and sometimes it does, and you just go on to the next one.
Okay. Okay, and Cecile, I know you are a reporter, but you're on the colonial side. You weren't in the colonial side this war. Do you share what they are saying, or do you have something else to add, maybe to contrast?
So, I'm gonna have to let a little secret out here. I really did not play much this war. A lot of my time was spent working here on the press corps, but the little bit I have played, it really is better if you divide the war up into different fronts, because it's obviously never a unified movement, especially for us. I was focused really in the center front, and I feel like we were doing pretty good right up until the end. So, personally, the war went well for me, but obviously not everyone can share that sentiment.
Okay, and now to the wardens. Well, you're the victor of this conflict, so maybe it's easy for you to say that the war was won from the beginning. But I'd like to ask you how you feel. Well, we have two representatives from like two big regiments, 11E Brigade and 82DKs, and you were on some of the most active front, being Farnak Coast and Line of Mercy. It was, I know for a fact, it was pretty heavy fighting there. So how would you, despite their losses, how would you say your colonial counterpart fought? Do you think they fought bravely? Maybe the wording isn't correct, but I think get what I mean.
Do you think they put in quite a bit of effort, or they actually tried their hardest?
Yeah. Do you think from start to finish they tried to hold on as hard as they could? Or do you feel at some point some of them might have break down and left the fight?
Well, like I say, I can't speak to the other front lines. Myself and Amothic, we only really fought over Farnak Coast and Westgate, and it certainly wasn't the case that the war was won from the beginning. That was never the case. It was always in flux. But I would say that I would just go back to what I said earlier on about the changes to infantry. It really leveled the playing field. At least it felt like it leveled the playing field in the early game with the changes, and that allowed us to gain ground and pull things off that we might not have been able to do otherwise. We did an absolutely excellent op in Farnak Coast, with a lot of distraction, and that allowed us to get over the bridge. And when we got over the bridge, we held our ground, and that was a big moment in the western flank when we got over the bridge and took South Farnak. And when we got into Westgate, I think we might have got pushed out once or twice, completely, but it was never for long. And we kept that fight in Westgate the entire time. Now, that's not saying that the Colonials weren't fighting, because the entire time, the Colonial war machine was just pumping resources into our entire front line. I can't tell you the amount of tanks that were sent to the north of Westgate. But every single time that we met them with waves of stickies, and we killed like triple digits tanks in Westgate, a lot of different types, just by rushing them with sticky grenades. So it was like a hard fought fight, especially in North Westgate.
Okay. We'll just announce. Well, thank you for your response. I will now leave you in the hand of Cecile because I have to go. And thank you very much for being here with us. We couldn't do that without the community being behind us, so it means a lot to the PressCorps, you being here and answering our question. So thank you very much. And I will see you next war. Bye bye.
Yeah, be safe.
Thank you for
See
having
you.
us. Bye bye.
Have a good one.
Bye bye.
Alrighty. That was Gene. He was leading the questions. I'm going to be taking over for a little bit now. So, obviously, this war was a little weird with our front lines. We had a lot of back and forth, which I feel like is pretty common in most wars. However, I feel like it was a little bit more. Does anyone have, and this is obviously for any front, any side, from your guys' combat or logistics perspective, anything you feel like the other side could improve on? Anything that you felt was lacking? I know it's not often that both sides can get together and really discuss like this. I'd like to hear if you have any constructive criticism for your fellow players who happen to be a different color than you.
Our regiment has one that we've been repeating to ourselves throughout this war, and the coalition, I believe, some have
absolutely.
also repeated the same.
Cora, we'll start with you, and then Avitus, and then Shippage. I think you said something.
I didn't say anything.
Oh, sorry.
And Maltic will chime in once you are done with the overall perspective.
Okay. So we'll start with you, Cor.
This is an update war, so we did not expect any difference, but the Colonials were producing a lot of the Nemesis tank, as to be expected for an update war. A new tank is exciting and should be mass-produced and used, but we missed a lot of the Spathas on the front lines that we usually go up against with our tank lines. The Spatha is still an extremely dangerous tank for us to go up against, and to see a lot less of it on the front, it made our tank fights a lot easier from what our tankers had started to describe to us.
That's interesting. And do you think that was just kind of because it was a new vehicle?
Probably, yeah.
They were
It's
producing
mostly
more of them.
excitement.
The meta will probably fall back in next war.
I think if they do the smart move, they will still bounce back and maybe go for more 50-50 or push more on the Spatha a bit more and not just pump out Nemi after Nemi after Nemi, since we saw entire front lines of just Nemesis, and then you might have one or two Spatha, which is not common for us to fight against.
Can I jump in quick on this one?
Absolutely, Havoc.
I know, with the Nemesis, it comes right off the line ready to go. To make a Spatha, you have to take it, to a small pad and change the falchion over to a Spatha. And I think that was the issue, is that a lot of people saw the Nemesis as, at least from what I saw, it's ready to go out of the box. You don't have to find a pad, find the materials for it, which for solo players or small groups is difficult, where they can bang together the Nemesis pretty quick and take it out and have fun with it. It being new, of course, instead of trying to, do the falchion and then figure out how I'm going to upgrade it to the much better Spatha.
I agree with that sentiment. That's what we also predicted as well, that it was most likely the extra effort that was required to build a Spatha that is what made it, though. So the Nemesis was so much more appealing to a lot of the smaller groups. But the sheer mass of it seemed to suggest even that larger Logi regiments were also producing an obscene amount of them.
I would like to agree on that from the war perspective. It seemed like most of the war we were fighting more Nemesis than any other tanks, other than almost the last few days of the war, where more battle tanks were starting to roll in. And I kind of almost feel that the Nemesis didn't really lead to the downfall of the colonial faction in this war, but I think it had a pretty good contribution to some of the fronts, because although the Nemesis is fast, it takes a lot to disable. It's only kind of a mediocre midline tank, if you think about it, compared to the Spatha or even the Bardisha, which is still feared by the Wardens. I think if they fielded more of a mixture of tanks rather than overwhelming numbers of Nemesis, it may have had a little bit different effect on some of the front lines.
that's it. Like that's a really good segue and exactly what I was going to advise the Colonials in future. Like the problem with the Nemesis is that it's great on paper, but the problem with it is that it's got no. I mean, it has got the grenade launcher on it, but that's not really for taking out sticky rushes and mobile infantry. It's like maybe taking out a trench position or something like that. It really, really suffers against infantry and large numbers of infantry. So if it gets sticky rushed, especially if entire tank lines get sticky rushed that are predominantly Nemesis tanks, the Colonials aren't really used to protecting tank formations like that, because in Colonials tanks enjoy a lot more like coax machine guns and like machine guns in general over Warden tanks, so they can survive a little bit better on their own. They've got things like the Scorpion that can cover, like, lock down entire 180 degrees of tank formations, and the Nemesis doesn't have any of those factors. It's great against tanks and it's great against fixed positions and stuff like that, but overall it's not great in large quantities. I can see the Nemesis tank being good at like rolling around, like maybe three of them together, like rolling around in flanks and stuff like that, but it's certainly not a frontline tank. It really suffers if it doesn't have infantry screening. It's going to suffer.
Okay,
I
that's
mean,
wonderful feedback. Rocky, you had something?
if you're talking about a tank that the Colonials don't use enough, man, where's y'all's ballistas? I don't understand. Like, we make excellent use of chieftain rushes late in the war. I didn't see much of that from the Colonials. I don't see chieftain rushes. I don't see ballista rushes. And they're scary when they show up, but I don't see them much. That's just the point. I might get criticism from other wardens for reminding you guys that you have that tank, but, you know.
The ballista went from a.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, that was the problem.
But,
I think that's the big issue, is that we weren't able to MPF it like we normally were.
Well, here's the thing. Look, we have to produce them in facility. We have to produce chieftains in facilities. We still end up producing tons of them and throwing them at you in like waves and waves. And I don't see the counterpart from Colonials. And honestly, even when they were MPF vehicles, I still didn't see them nearly as much as we use chieftains.
You know, I think that a factor is in that not a lot of people think about. Our version, the Chieftain, is dual purpose. It's got like a 14.5 on the top. It can help with infantry. It can hang out on the front line and do that role and just cover a flank from infantry. So we can get a build up of these things just coming to the front line and hanging out. Do you know what I mean? Like the ballista is solely for one job. So if that thing turns up to a front line and the tank line is nowhere near the enemy defenses, it's got no purpose being there. Do you get what I'm saying?
Well,
like,
I guess
whereas ours does.
The point I was making is at least our regiment and some of the regiments we work with, a lot of times the chieftains we use, we don't even use the 12-7 all that much. It's a rush tank. We just like load it up with 250s and we charge, and we know we're going to lose a bunch of them, but we can blast concrete away with it.
May I add something to this?
Sure, yeah.
So I've been playing Colonial since War 87, since I started, and the ballista has stuff compared to the chieftain. The problem with the ballista is that people are not using it enough because, it sucks, and then therefore we're not going to use it. The problem is that, of course, we're going to use it because it's better than doing nothing, but you need to understand that although it's MPF-able, that's it. That's all it's the positive trait about the ballista, that it's MPF-able. And what's up?
I was going to say, I'll have to somewhat disagree with you because, what was it, War 116, War 117? There were many colonial regiments that brought them out in bulk in Stone Cradle and completely shredded our defenses, which I think ultimately loses the war. I think it's almost a mindset that colonials don't realize how effective it actually is.
It's effective, you're right, in numbers. That's about it. Because it's MPF-able, the game expects you, or I guess the meta expects you to use them in numbers. Numerical superiority with ballistas, it's strong suit. The problem is that a lot of colonials are trying to replicate what chieftains are able to do that ballistas just cannot, or if ballistas try, they fail miserably. And that is not being used in rushes. That is, say you're pushing and a core, it's open, but there's a lot of infantry. A ballista, if it tries to do that, it cannot defend itself. Its sole purpose is to just rush the core and hope to dear God that you kill it. A chieftain can do that, and by the way, has slightly more armor than the ballista, and it can defend itself against infantry. It has a dual 12.7 360-degree cover against infantries, and it's even deadlier when it's daytime, when they can see infantry from a mile away. Pair this in numbers, it works. Ballistas can't do that. Ballistas only work in rushes, especially when it's night, and in surprise. The surprise element is the only thing that benefits the ballistas, but when it's used in slow combat, kill this core, kill these defenses, all it can do is just kill PvE, and that's it. So that is where the struggle begins. That is where the colonial seeing it in a negative eyes begins, because it just cannot defend itself, period. It needs some external or adjacent support, such as another tank or infantry to accompany it, but that's just a waste.
I appreciate the discussion on the meta, but before we get too bogged down in tanks, how do we feel about changes in the infantry update and kind of how they've affected what has been, pretty long-standing metas? And if possible, I'd like to be able to talk about this from the infantry perspective, since it is what the majority of this update was focused on, was changing the way shouldering worked, changing the way, infantry combat worked in general. How do you feel that's going to affect both veteran players and the massive wave of new players that we got?
I believe that and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to speak over anyone, but I think that the shouldering and the removing the bayonet's ability to insta-kill people has affected the veteran communities. I don't know if it's slightly or severely, because it has basically, in my eyes, killed shadow dancing.
Yes.
Yes.
And I have mixed opinions about shadow dancing, because before it got nerfed or killed, I was teaching every single one of my members how to shadow dance, because it was the only way to get on par with the veterans. People say, hey, it sucks, but yeah, I'm going to do it anyway, because that's how I can compete. But now that shouldering has been introduced, and I tried it, it's hard. You can technically shadow dance, but it's impossible. It's impossible. So yeah, those two features, those changes are very good, because shadow dancing no longer exists at this point. People have to fight at a level.
In Chip, real quick, sorry, I don't want to interrupt anybody. Just for our listeners who may not understand, can you briefly explain what that is, shadow dancing?
Shadow dancing, of course. Shadow dancing is, I would call it flitching of your reticle. So when you aim down your sight with your rifle and it zeroes in, the bullet goes where you want it to go. Great, perfect. But sometimes you would love to shoot, if you try to shoot at a target while also on the move, it's kind of impossible. So shadow dancing basically, I guess, and that's what I've been taught, it tricks the reticle by you're simply flinching. So don't wait for the reticle to zero in. Just shoot. Left click, right click, and it's going to cause the bullet to go straight at your target without having your reticle zero in. And because you can do this on the move, you divide the shadow dancing into shadowing, which is flinching, and then the dancing part, which is evading, right? Moving side to side, zipper movements or in circles. That is, it was a way to give veteran players or players anyone an advantage when fighting, especially in an open field and heck, even in trenches. It would be even worse when you are, say, playing from Afghanistan and you're lagging like crazy. Your latency is skyrocketing. No one could touch you. That was it.
No, I appreciate the explanation. JV, I believe I interrupted you.
I was going to say that the reduction in range for the Boomstone has been a huge impact in the early game. Everybody knows the Colonials have the advantage in the early game. This has brought them back down, put us on par. I noticed
100%.
that. Right, I noticed that
Yeah.
in the early days we would get pushed back several hexes, and every colonial you come across is going to be packed with Boomstone. That's all they're making is Boomstones. And they could throw them farther than you could shoot, especially at nighttime. Everybody knows in Warden Basic Training they teach you that at nighttime the colonials come out.
It was a
that's
tried and
fact.
true tactic for us. That is true.
And now that the Boomstone has been brought back, it's harder for them to just run up and yeet grenades everywhere. Not only that, but if they get shot while holding one, now they drop it. If they're in a trench, they can kill their teammates as well.
Are we talking about Mammon rushes?
No, problem solves. I have to say, yeah, from a war perspective, it is a welcome reprieve that bomb stones have been reduced in their throwing range. Early war, that early war, they're just so annoying that people may know a lot of wardens don't like playing early war, specifically because of the bomb stone. But now it's been weakened. It seems like more wardens are, at least in this war, we'll have to wait and see for future wars. It seems like more warners are now coming out in the early war because now they actually have somewhat of a fighting chance against those bomb stone throwers.
I would say that at least in 82DK in our infantry section, the swap, because I'm sort of like the polar opposite of what Ship said. Like I've always trained my men to I've actively discouraged shadow dancing for a lot of years, and we took on a different way of looking at things, and we took on tactics to actively combat shadow dancing because we encountered it so much. So now we form our infantry into lines, and you might see us advancing in line and things like that, and that's to actively combat shadow dancing and present a unified front, basically, to the enemy. And that has allowed us to transfer our tactics from the old system to the new system, kind of seamlessly, to tell you the truth. The one thing that we've really suffered from, and I'm surprised nobody's really brought it up yet, is the new bayonet system. We used to just clean up entire front lines with the bayonet, but that is no longer possible. And there's nowhere near as many. I mean, I'm sort of in two minds about it because I really enjoyed leading 20-man bayonet rushes into the flanks of enemy formations and stuff like that. It was always great. But you would also get that 1 or 2 man bayonet squad that would make it all the way to your fob and be glitching around your screen, killing everybody, killing tankers, stealing tanks, all that type of crap, you know what I mean?
And you couldn't do anything about it.
Exactly. So it's sort of like a double-edged sword. But it's a good change, and I'm glad it happened. The new melee system's great.
That is awesome. That is good to hear. I know when updates are released, or when updates are announced, there's always mixed opinions, but I'm glad to hear overall we think it's been pretty decent for the infantry experience. Pivoting away and just kind of back to the war in general, if there is one lesson either you guys or your regiments as a whole could take away from this war, what would it be?
I would say that the Colonial Navy is struggling. The Warden Navy definitely rules the seas, and this is not the first war that we have dominated in the island hexes, and that's given us a resource advantage. And the island hexes are breaching the defenses, and that's what's causing the colonies to be on the back foot.
I'll be surprised if we see a war that the Colonials win, where they surrender the sea, like they've been doing the past couple of wars. The Colonials really need to start making an effort in the ocean, because if they don't, they're just going to lose wars continually.
Agreed.
I have to agree on that as well. I mean, given how naval first came out, nobody really knew how to use them or form a meta, but now people actually start to see their effectiveness, especially on the Warden side, and I think it's starting to have a profound effect on the Colonials, seeing how take those island hexes and now we have partisan activity in their backline regions near their logi hubs.
Yep. I want to give a big shout out to Warden Navy and Scum. They really know what they're doing when it comes to fleet.
100%. We're super lucky to have those guys.
All right. Let's see. Do we have any other lessons? WL Rec. You guys got anything?
I mean, they hit it on the head. We got to learn to get out there in the beginning with the boats and fight back. That's one of our biggest issues we've seen now in 2 wars. So
That is indeed.
Yep.
I will say, as a colonial player, I mourn the lack of of a colonial navy, especially just to play on and have fun with. You know, meta be damned. I feel like navy is a fun experience.
Yeah, Rec has also enjoyed doing it this war. HCNS it was taking a break, so we took over a lot of the naval production within Howells County, and we enjoyed using every single ship we produced, even for other regiments and stuff like that. And we loved seeing those kill counts go up. So for us, we learned that as a coalition, we can produce a hell of a lot, and it helped us quite a bit.
Well, we'll see if War 120 changes that any.
We will see. They are returning.
Keep our fingers
HCNS.
crossed. Yeah.
If there's a lesson that I would pick up from this war is I would definitely encourage my colonial players to definitely build up their starting territories in any war. Because if they don't, we see stuff like what happened in the East this war occur, and that complicates things for many other people.
Absolutely.
And then yes, the naval part. I know why collies are struggling, but I'll just leave it at that.
I know it is a long-running joke that we collies do not build on our gains, but it is a lesson that I hope it is taken, especially with what has happened this war.
Yeah, and those thunder runs that MSC did within Marbin, all the way to Maidens, those few times in the Claustra as well, we were shocked that they ran through us so hard, but they moved immediately, and we took back the gains in under an hour. It's that consolidation that needs to be solidified to keep wardens from just taking back the opportunity of just taking back everything that has now essentially no AI and no colonials on the front because they just have already moved somewhere else.
Absolutely.
You know, I've often thought of the fact that wardens tend to lose a lot of ground early in wars as somewhat of a buff, because it kind of forces our logistics and our forces to consolidate more tightly in our backline hexes, which means that all of our backline, I mean, we had storm cannons on our backline, you know what I mean, just in case, you know what I mean, and we don't see that with colonials. Like, it tends to be, we have a saying in my section, and once we crack the colonial egg, it tends to mean that we've broken through the main line of concrete, and everything underneath is yolk, and that's what tends to happen. Like when a big, like a warden weekend happens, and some big bunker base falls, that's the only thing protecting your yolk, and we're just straight into your backlines, killing train yards, killing entire depots. You know what I mean? So it's developing that backline and getting defenses on in layers. You know what I mean? Because we're not going to stop until we run into something hard. Like for instance, when we took the it's a good example is when we took the south of Fahrenheit coast. We walked into the north of Westgate and took that in like 24 hours, I think. Not even that. Until we ran into concrete, we didn't stop. So
absolutely. Well, this has been awesome. I have one final question for you folks. And it's a more personal question. What was your guys' favorite part of the war? I know this has been a war of a lot of different disciplines. You know, we had some good armor stuff. We had a lot of facility work. We have people from all walks of the game here. What was your guys' favorite part of the war?
If I may start there. So
absolutely.
My favorite part of the war definitely was in the end of it, when wardens were pushing us hard in the Hex Shackle Chasm in the city of Seamus Run. They really tried hard attacking it. They came with a frigate. They even used 4 SPGs at one point. And the reason they weren't able to take it easily was because we had built up like a massive trench line. They had really innovative defenses. And so it was really cool to see all of those defenses in action and see that the Wardens, when they are met with a good prepared defense, are not unstoppable. Because previously they rushed through alloys, rushed through Shackle, there was only a little bit of defenses there. And so the last stand we made there at Simus at the end of the war, that was definitely my highlight of the war.
Alrighty. Do we have any more favorite parts, highlights? It can be regiment-wide, it can be personal-wide. I know you folks have logged a lot of hours in the game the past couple days, or past couple weeks.
I'd say my ability to come back to the game after a year and be a part of a coalition for the first time. Getting to see another regiment tag on the front and know that they got your back, and being able to talk with these guys who are all from completely different groups, different like cultures within their regiments, and be able to work with them. It's a type of organization and like cooperation that is super, super fun.
Yeah, well, welcome back. If this war and Operation Support has proven anything, that this is a unique community. I know we love to poke fun at each other for being on different sides, to, you know, goblins, blueberries, all that, but we really are a super tight-knit community, and it's cool to see that in action, you know, welcoming people back to the game and back to the front.
Yes. And all the new players as well, getting to mentor and teach even colonials and wardens, both all new, who are coming to the game for the first time and getting to experience the community and giving them a positive experience. That was an absolute blast to do all the representative stuff for REQ this war and to be the community guy for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I want to say that whoever was defending the fingers for the Colonials, man, they put up a hell of a fight, and scuttlebutt and all that. Like, oh my god, we spent days trying to get in there. So even though we pushed, into that hex, we still had a long fight ahead of us. It wasn't something we did overnight.
Alrighty. Well, I would like to once again, if there's no final thoughts.
Just my favourite bit of the war on a regimental level. The operation that we did to take the south of Faranac was a work of art. The guy that was in charge of it, he attacked Jade. He basically had us attack Jade Cove and draw all of the colonial attention to the west side of the map before we all rapidly redeployed to the east and crossed that bridge before, and we got a lot of assets across before the enemy knew we were there, and that's the big reason why we took it. And on a personal level, using a battleship at the end of the war to take out Westgate Keep and all that area was pretty much fun.
Longstone, I think, was the last town to fall for the victory, and we shelled it with the battleship, weakening it for our allies to take it.
Yeah, you're right. It was Longstone.
Yep. Well, thank you so much for coming. This has been our guests. Our panel consisted of, once again as a reminder, from 11E, Rocky 8U, from 1CIMR, Javi. From 82DK, we had Emethic and Avitus. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your guys' names. From NCR, we had Shippage. From Rec, we had Core, and from WLL, we had Havoc Charge, and then from the independent Colonial players, which is a regimentalist, we had Bidoof. I would like to thank you guys so much for joining us. Your insight has been awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed being able to talk with both us and with each other.
If I may say one final thing before we leave, though, about PressCorps and to our viewers.
Oh, absolutely.
So for those who are currently watching the live stream and those who will eventually watch this on YouTube, PressCorps is an amazing community. One of the first things I really noticed when I started playing the game years ago, and personally, in my opinion, they're just criminally underrated in what they do in the game.
Absolutely.
So if you guys watching this video right now, share about the PressCorps, Reddit, your Discord channels, even your friends who don't even play the game. At least, maybe someday may be interesting in just listening in to help build that viewership and attention that they really do deserve.
100%. Couldn't say it better myself.
REQ seconds that.
Guys. Yeah, we didn't pay them to say that, just so you guys know.
We really do appreciate the praise, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I want to wish you guys a happy holidays. I know the next war is starting on the 23rd. It's going to be a little close to some holidays, but...
What a fun start of a war, no one playing.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would like to remind everyone who's listening that this is just a game. Go spend time with your family, your friends, your loved ones. I promise a day or two at the beginning of the war is not going to lose it. So, you guys have a happy holidays, have a happy new year. We will see you guys on the front for War 120, and then we will see you guys in a couple months for the long-awaited airborne updates.
Thank you very much for having me.
Woohoo! Alrighty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll move you guys out of the channel real quick, and we will do a final wrap-up. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, that has been our interview section of the post-war 119 recap. I am so glad you guys have stuck around and been with us. I know this was kind of a long segment. It is definitely longer than what we normally do at the PressCorps here, but this felt like a special war, one that merited doing a recap. And to everyone out there, we hope you had fun fighting in War 119. I hope that you guys found yourselves communities and niches that you could be a part of in this game. And I hope for all these new players that you keep playing the game. And for all you returning players, I hope you found your passion for Foxhole again. From myself, from Ash, from the rest of the PressCorps community, congratulations to the Wardens on winning. A happy holidays, and we will see you all in the new year. For the PressCorps, I'm Cecil Vectori.
And I'm Ash Mayfield.
Signing off. Thank you.
The PressCorps is an all-volunteer creative collective of reporters, broadcasters, artists, and more from the MMO video game Foxhole, developed by Siege Camp. Our mission is to engross our audience in and amplify the stories of this unique war ecosystem. The PressCorps was founded in 2018 by former Planetside 2 Radio Free Auraxis host, CaptainInArms. It is a separate community entity and is not officially representative of Siege Camp. For more information, visit our website at PressCorpsGaming.com. That's PressCorps gaming.com.